Hi, I'm Eunice. Welcome to Before a Visit Ends, a space where we take a moment to get to know the whole person beyond their cancer diagnosis. Along the way, we'll gain meaningful insights on living a life that is not defined by cancer. These stories are sometimes heavy, sometimes unexpectedly light, but always honest. During this podcast, my guests and I will be sharing personal experiences and discussing medical information. That said, the information we share is based on our own lived experiences, perspectives, and personal understanding. This podcast is not intended to replace medical advice. Please consult your own healthcare provider or licensed practitioner with any questions or concerns about your diagnosis or care. Before Our Visit Ends is not responsible for any outcomes related to information shared in this podcast. Each episode is shared with the hope that someone listening might feel seen, better understood, or more informed. And with that, let's begin today's episode. Hi, Lee. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so delighted to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Can you tell us, I always ask everyone when I start about yourself, your background, things that make you happy right now, and really what you're up to these days?
Sure. So I'm Lee. I'm 45 years old, relatively young, I think, in the grand scheme of people diagnosed with cancer. I work in the nonprofit sector. I'm a director of operations for a small nonprofit in the Bay Area. And outside of my work, I like the kind of things that bring me joy. It's similar to my work in operations. I like playing strategic board games. I like video games that require me to think like more along the same lines of strategy. I love good books and also Lego sets and crafting and art. I have a variety of things that bring me joy. For my birthday, I got a piano, and that has been bringing me a lot of joy as well, getting to play again, which I haven't gotten to do in a number of years.
So I wanted to get into your diagnosis a little bit. Can you tell us about what prompted you to get tested? Were you having any symptoms of colon cancer? And if you were having symptoms, when did it start?
I wouldn't say I had any like symptoms that made me think, oh my gosh, something is really wrong. I just noticed, and obviously, like colon cancer, heads up, there's talking about digestive stuff. I always kind of give people that disclaimer. I did notice like something different in the way my bowel movements were. But I was just like, I'm in my 40s now. I'm getting older. It's, like that's probably just normal, right? Like to just have things be changing about how my body works and how, things move through my digestive tract. And I was seeing a primary care physician at the time, and I told her about, this change in how my body was working. She kind of brushed it off and she was like, "Sounds like you just have some general constipation. Here's some medication to help with the constipation." Because she was like, "Because you don't have a colonoscopy, because those are no fun." Which, when I look back, I'm like, that was a really bad call on her part, because what I needed was absolutely a colonoscopy. And like for her to just be like, "Here's some pills to basically give you diarrhea," like to help move things through. The pills didn't help, but things didn't necessarily get worse. There was also blood in my stools, but like when I would Google my symptoms, it was like, oh, if it's dark and tarry, that's a sign of cancer. But mine was very bright red. And so I was like, oh, maybe I just have a hemorrhoid that's overactive. And I was like, I'm in my 40s. That's probably normal. Right. Again, I was just kind of like, no big deal. Like I didn't have pain. I didn't have discomfort. And so I just thought everything was fine because my doctor didn't seem to think there was a concern. Fast forward like a year and a half later, when I had moved to the next town over, I had a new job. I had different health insurance. I got a different primary care physician. And I told her about this situation. And she was like, let's get you in for a colonoscopy. Like her first thing was, let's do that. And I was like, okay. So I went in for the colonoscopy and I wasn't really concerned. Like I was like mildly concerned, but I was like, again, I was like, they're going to tell me I have hemorrhoids and maybe something needs to be done or there's different medication I need to take. I didn't think it was going to be a big deal. So when I woke up from my colonoscopy and the doctor was like, so you have a tumor in your colon and you have stage 4 colon cancer, colorectal cancer. Now there's a whole bunch of stuff you have to do. I was just like, wait, what?
They told you as soon as you woke up from the colonoscopy what they saw.
Yeah, the friend who had given me a ride didn't even like be like, "Hey, we have some updates we want to give you. Should we call your friend back?" Nothing. They just were like, "Oh, good morning. You have cancer." Like it was really abrupt. It was n- I if feedback, like, that's not how I would have done it if it were up to me, you know? It was very abrupt. So, yeah, very, very much a surprise, not what I was expecting.
That is actually very shocking, right? Because you go in for a colonoscopy. Maybe the idea could have been, we have some labs to look at, we have some things that we wanna look at, and then, we'll get back to you. So after they told you this news, was it sort of like, "This is what we need to do next?" Or did they give you a chance to go home and think about what the treatment options were going to look like? How was that conversation? Did you even absorb the information they were telling you?
I remember just it felt like I was just in a haze. Like, at that point, I was just like, "What does this mean?" Haven't had anybody close to me in my life that had cancer. I didn't have any close family members who had cancer. Cancer is not something in my family history that is very big. I have a lot of extended family and very few instances of any kind of cancer, let alone colon cancer. And so I just was like, I don't even know what this means. I don't know how this is going to impact me. And I was like terrified and overwhelmed. There was this one really wonderful nurse who was there at my colonoscopy who was present when the doctor told me that I had cancer, and then he left the room, and I was just sitting there crying. And she turned to me and she was like, "Here's my phone number. Like, here's my cell phone number. I'm a survivor of breast cancer, and I understand you're probably completely overwhelmed and have no idea, like, what to do, but she's like, "You're not alone, and just text me anytime if you have questions, if you don't know what to do, if you don't know who to ask for help, please text or call me." Like, and I was just like, in that moment, I was like, "Okay, I'm not alone." Like, and that gave me just the tiniest glimpse of hope. Like, I think I'm gonna be o I don't know, maybe I'm gonna be okay, but just knowing somebody else understood where I was at in that moment made a world of difference.
It's beautiful to have somebody that says, "I know what you're going through." And also at that moment, it's like, "What's gonna happen to me?" And for them to say, "Okay, I'm standing right here, I'm working, you're gonna go through this, and you're gonna be fine." So after you got the diagnosis, how did things move from there? What were the plans that you were given for treatment? When did you need to come back in? When did you need to have surgery? When did you need to start chemo? Who do you go to from here? The surgeon, the oncologist, where do you start? Where did you start?
It was really interesting, like, I found cancer support groups through my hospital network, and they have been incredibly helpful, and I think, like, what I shared repeatedly, and I've shared now with new people joining the group too, was I really felt like when I woke up from my colonoscopy and was told, "You have cancer," I felt like in that moment, like, I woke up strapped into a roller coaster that was already moving. Like, I didn't have a choice to get on this roller coaster, and I didn't have a choice to get off of it. Like, it was already in action, and now I was just on the ride, and I just had to ride it out, and it really felt that way, like there wasn't a choice. I had cancer, like, I couldn't choose not cancer. I was on the roller coaster already, and it was very fast moving. I March 4th was the day I had my colonoscopy. Within, I think, a week, they had me in for a series of scans. I had a CT scan. I think a week or 2 later, I had a PET scan, a number of labs, blood work done to just, like, confirm everything. So that was how they determined it was stage 4 because they found mets on my liver, and so they knew a number of my lymph nodes would be impacted, and the tumor in my colon was large enough that they were like, "We need to do surgery as soon as possible because if we wait much longer, it's gonna completely block your colon, and then we're gonna have much bigger problems." And so, like, fortuitously, the 2 surgeons, the liver surgeon and the colon surgeon, each were like, "Well, I'm ready to do surgery on, this part of your body because everything looks great. I think I'll be able to go in and remove all of the cancerous tissue with good margins. But I'm just concerned what the other surgeon will say." Like, they both said that about the other one, and we were like, I was like, "Both of you say, like, the other one's got the hard job, so I think we're good." And so, from March 5th and all of the labs and tests and everything, they had me in for surgery March, I think, 27th or 28th. Like, it was just like 3, 4 weeks later that I had surgery, and surgery was incredibly successful. Both of my surgeons were very happy with the results. They got everything out very cleanly, very well. And then I think I had 5.5 to 6 weeks of recovery time after surgery before chemotherapy started.
I just wanna go back a little bit to being on a roller coaster that you're already on, that you can't get off of because you have cancer, you have to get treatment. In the process of the roller coaster of knowing that you had to get treatment, and yours moved so fast. So in 3 weeks, you were already having surgery. Did you feel like you got a chance to ask the questions that you maybe wanted answered? Or for this stage, it was more so, this is what the treatment is, this is what I'm going with. Because for some people, they might maybe have questions of, should I get chemo first and then get surgery? What is the impact of having surgery going to be on me after surgery? Did you get a chance to ask any of those questions? And did you feel like your questions were answered?
Yeah, so I'm one of those people where I was like, if I try to take in all of the information, I'm gonna be so overwhelmed and stressed out, like I won't be able to handle it. And so I was like, I had to no searching on the web, no reading other people's blogs, no getting into forums and asking other people who had stage 4 colon cancer. I had one friend who connected me with a friend whose husband had stage 4 colon cancer, but his was way more advanced than mine. Like he needed a full liver transplant. Just hearing his story, I was like, this is going to be horrible. Like I might die. Like my experience through hearing his just made me actually more terrified about the outcome of where I was headed and the experience of what I was going to have to go through. And so I just realized like I think I need to like reel back because everybody's experience is different. And for me, like too much information, like more information was actually making me more scared about what was to come and what I needed to do. At the hospital I was a part of at the start of this, there's a nurse navigator who just had been there like since the 80s. Like she's been through so much of experience of like the process and how much has changed in cancer treatment over the years, over the decades. And she's just like an avid looker out for like all of us who are patients going through treatments. And she really showed up and provided me with just a tremendous amount of resources, but not scary ones, just helpful. Here's the next steps. And part of her packet of information was questions to ask your oncologist, questions to ask your surgeon, questions to ask, something to do around chemotherapy maybe or something like that. So there was like 3 different sets of questions of like what to ask each group of people or each specific doctor about different things. And so I was able to just take that instead of trying to do my own research and figure out what do I need to ask, I could just take that list of questions and like I highlighted like these are the ones I feel like I need to know the answers to before I leave that meeting with that doctor. And so I found that incredibly helpful, just having that as a resource. And I'm happy to like I could probably find that document and share it with you if that would be something that would be helpful.
Yeah, I think that actually would be really helpful to share. We can add it on the site about what questions to ask. It sounds like the nurse navigators have been really great resources. The nurses have been great resources. The physicians have been great resources. Are there other resources beyond, even within the hospital system that you have found to be helpful? One of the things that I've been inspired by is your YouTube channel about documenting, what you've been going through.
For starters, I decided to start a YouTube channel. And the first thought was, okay, I have a lot of extended family. I have a lot of friends. I have friends like across the country, around the globe. There's no way I'm going to be able to like get on phone calls and update everything and send text messages and send emails and update all of these people every time something changes. Like, okay, now I have surgery. Now I had this scan and now this is the result. And now I have chemo and here's how I'm feeling. And I was just like, I'm so exhausted. I'm not even sure what I need right now or how I feel. To me, like starting this YouTube channel was just like an easy way. I could just send out one video update to all of my friends and family. And it has kind of morphed and shifted because not only am I sending out like, here's an update on how I'm doing physically and how my treatment is going, but it's kind of turned into this deeper like what the universe is teaching me as I'm going through this and like what lessons I'm learning and what I'm learning about myself and how I'm growing despite this horrible thing that I'm having to deal with in my body and deal with overcoming with cancer. So I've got this channel navigating cancer. And like I really like that shift to like sharing what I'm learning and growing to me has also like given me hope because I feel like I'm not going through this and just surviving for myself, but also I'm able to share what I'm going through in a way that could potentially help other people. And already, like, I've heard feedback already from people who have been helped by it. They're going through maybe not cancer, but any health struggle, and they're able to like gain some level of hope or some level of inspiration, and that feeling of I'm not alone. Like Lee's going through something hard. I can go through something hard. And people have reached out to me, and we've had good conversations around how hard things can also be beautiful things that we can grow through them. And so it's been an inspiration back to me, by inspiring others. Some other things that have been really helpful to me. I mentioned earlier cancer support groups through my hospital. Again, the nurse navigator told me about these groups. There's a couple of different groups. One that's more like medical care focus, like what kind of side effects are you having? What kind of struggles are you running into? Where do you need support? In that group, like you can call in and just like talk about what's not working or how sick you're feeling or, what side effects you're having. And the nurses on that call are like, have you tried this? Have you talked to your doctor about that? Like, let me make some calls on your behalf and like, see if we can connect you with a palliative care doctor or a yoga instructor or a massage therapist or like whatever it is that might help. They'll connect you with, if you're having trouble like covering your medical bills, they'll connect you with a social worker or like, so that's a really great in real time support. And then there's another support call that's more like a therapist is running the call. So just like, how are you feeling about what you're going through? And do you have the support you need? And do you just need to cry right now? Because we're all here in this group and we all understand what you're going through because we're all in it. And so like you can just cry and we'll hold space for you while you cry. And so like just having those kind of spaces. Because again, like I didn't realize until I got this diagnosis that I was like, I have no idea what it's like to go through cancer. I don't know what this takes. I don't know what this experience is going to be like. And then I realized as I reached out to friends and family that haven't experienced cancer, they also didn't, they were like, I don't know how to support you. I don't know what you're going through. And so connecting with other people who have gone through it and who are going through it, they get it. They understand. They understand on a deep personal level. Again, it creates that space of not feeling alone. For people with colon cancer, there's an entire huge global online community called COLONTOWN. They have forums, so you can go on there and you can post questions. You can read other people's shares stuff, like food related things, just health related things. You just need to vent about what your experience is. If you're in a particular location, there are location based groups. You can ask about specific surgeons and specific oncologists and like ask for recommendations. So also a great resource for people specifically with colon cancer.
For people that want to be able to support someone going through cancer, what are ways that you have found to be helpful? If that's meals or just hanging out with you or calling you, that you have found to be impactful?
Yeah, there have been a handful of people who really showed up. I mean, there've been a lot of people that have showed up in a lot of different ways, but I was surprised, for example, that I had another friend, Brooke, who hasn't and doesn't live anywhere near me. Brooke, at closest lived on the other side of the state, now lives on the other side of the country, I believe, from where I am. And still they were like, "I wanna support you. What can I do?" And I was like, "Well, actually, I could," like, "I've been thinking I need a GoFundMe because I now have all these medical bills, and they're overwhelming, and I could really use the support." And Brooke was like, "I'm on it. I will build you a GoFundMe page. What do you want on it? Well, how much do you want to be a part of it? How much do you want me to just do myself?" And I was like, "How about you just do whatever and send it to me for review? That's as much as I can handle." And Brooke just took it and ran with it. And I had another friend, Elliot, who in similar fashion lived in LA and I'm up here in the Bay Area. And they were like, I want to support you, but I'm far away. What can I do? And they did a review of like 5 different apps and then found the best app for creating like an online support community where people could sign up to give me rides to chemo treatments. People could sign up to bring me meals. People could sign up to come like clean my house or take care of my cats and clean the litter boxes when I was too sick to do it myself. And the app is a great app. Actually, it's called Lotsa, Lotsa, Lots of Helping Hands. It's a free app, and you build out the little account, and then people can just sign up to join your care team, and you add anything in there you want support with, and people just have to click a button to volunteer, and it's super streamlined, super easy to use. And that was an incredible help. So, like, people showing up even who didn't live anywhere near me, who were just like, "Let me help build something that will support you from afar." A lot of friends who were the people who were like, "Let me be that ride to chemo. Let me come over and cook you a meal." I had one friend, Sherry, who my first round of chemo, she basically just moved into my apartment with me at the time, and And, like, I was so sick for that first round because I was like, "I have no idea how this is gonna go. I don't know how bad it's gonna be. I have no idea what to expect." And there were a few days where I was so sick, I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink, I couldn't function, I just wanted to be unconscious, like, I couldn't even speak, I couldn't even advocate to say what I needed. She would just look at me and be like, "Can I bring you food?" And I would just look at her sadly, like, I can't even like, the words in my head are there, and I can't even speak what I need, and she just held the space for me and was like, like, if I pointed at something, she was, like, on it, like, she just was there so I didn't have to be alone through that really dark, scary unknown.
I am inspired by your friends and the support that you've gotten, and I'm also happy that you are in a really great living situation now. You seem really happy. How is chemo now for you? I know you described the beginning of it, but how is it? How are you doing now?
Just to, like, touch on the chemo side of things, so I think the standard treatment, at least from my understanding, that's typically assigned for a standard case of colorectal cancer is a chemotherapy treatment called FOLFOX, and it's 3 different types of chemotherapy drugs. So what that looks like is, for me, I think for FOLFOX, the typical is it's a 2-week, treatment. Each cycle is 2 weeks long. I go in and I get the first 2 of the 3 chemotherapies in an infusion that lasts 2 to 3 hours, plus a couple of other things like the anti-nausea meds and some fluids. So I'm in the chair for 5 to 6 hours on that first day, and then they leave me. I have a port in my chest, which I talk about in one of my YouTube videos, so if people wanna know what that looks like and what that experience was like, I talk about that, so that they don't have to put the IV through my arms and hurt all my veins. Once I'm done with the main, infusion, then they plug in this little pump, that has the last form of chemotherapy in it, and I take that home in a little pouch, a little fanny pack. I call it my chemo tea, and I slow steep for the next 48 hours. Just wear that pouch around my waist and get the rest of the chemotherapy, and then I go back in 2 days later, and then they take that pump off and give me some more fluids and some more anti-nausea meds, and then they disconnect me from my port and send me home for the next 2 weeks, and then I go back in for the next cycle. The experience tends to be like those first 3 days when you're in getting the chemotherapy, you feel kinda crummy. If your anti-nausea meds are working, you're just kinda, like, in it, getting the drugs and processing, but then, like, once you're off of that day 3 and you finish what they call pump down when they take that last, infusion pump off. Days 4 and 5 were what I called the dark days. They were the hardest. They were when I felt the worst, when I couldn't eat. The side effects from particularly the oxaliplatin, one of the 3 chemotherapy drugs, that one is the hardest one. COLONTOWN, again, they have, COLONTOWN University. They have their own little website that teaches you about, like, all the side effects and ways you can kinda help counter counterbalance those side effects and things you can talk to your doctor about to help with that. But some of the more predominant side effects, aside from just like nausea and feeling really crummy and having a lot of exhaustion and needing to sleep a lot more, the ones that I found most interesting were, and I still have the biggest ones I have are like the neuropathy, like just tingling and weird sensation in my fingertips, but also in my mouth, like my tongue and the roof of my mouth and my gums always feel a little bit like I burnt them with scalding water, and also, like, there's just a 9-volt battery touching somewhere, and so everything's just kinda tingling with a slight electrical charge. It's a weird sensation that I've just accepted is a part of my normal life until I'm done with chemotherapy, but for the first month or 2, it was really hard, which makes eating hard, which makes drinking water hard. The oxaliplatin also made everything taste really strange, and so for the first few months, I was down to a certain brand of mac and cheese, Impossible Burgers, as somebody who is vegan, vegetarian, and I couldn't drink water. Plain water tasted like metallic slime. Like, the texture of it, the flavor of it, everything about it was wrong. I couldn't get myself to drink water, so I was very dehydrated.
Are there other things that you have found to bring you joy, that any other thing that you would wanna mention?
Like I said, I for my birthday, I got a piano, and I've been just finding so much joy in, like, I'll make my cup of coffee in the morning, and I'll go sit down at the piano, and whether I'm just playing some scales or trying out a new song, or I love playing, like, Disney movie songs and like stuff that I love that I've loved forever, and just hearing them come out through my fingers is a real joy. Also, I will say, now that I'm getting close to the end and I can see the light, like I have this week will be round 9 of 12. And so now I'm finally like, okay, we're getting like just a few more left. So I feel a lot of hope coming forward. And I mean like every week before I start my next round of chemo, I have a good cry because I'm like, I don't want to do this again, but here we go. I'm going to do this again. And but it's relieving to feel like, okay, this it doesn't feel like this is going to go on forever. I can feel it coming to a close.
Are there plans of what you're looking forward to after treatment is over?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, one, being freed from this endless, what felt like this endless 2-week cycle that has taken over my life. I think that was one of the hardest parts of grappling with this when I first woke up on that roller coaster called cancer and felt like I didn't have a choice. I just went from having 2025 ahead of me as like, I'm going to do these things, I'm going to travel to these places, to like, I'm going to stay right where I am and be really sick for the rest of the year. So yeah, fast forwarding to now and seeing the light at the end of the tunnel has been delightful. And my partner and I, part of what connected us early on, brought us together as friends and then as partners, was both our like, we have an entrepreneurial spirit, and we both are world travelers. Prior to all of this, prior to COVID really, but even after COVID, I did a digital nomad for a couple of years. I just lived with myself and my laptop in a backpack, and I traveled around, and I spent some time in Europe, and I spent some time in Australia, and I traveled all over the US, and just loved experiencing different cultures and different people's lives and different, ways of living. And my partner also shares in that passion. And so we have big plans of like, we've been kind of putting together the playlist of spaces we're going to travel to once I'm done with chemotherapy and we can start getting out and doing things. So yeah, we're pondering possibly like Christmas in Germany, and she has friends over there that would host us, so that would be a lot of fun.
I know that you are non-binary, so you identify as they, them. How has your care been with the fact that you are non-binary? Has there been any maybe things that you would say concerning, or it's really just hasn't really even been anything that you've noticed or
It's 50-50. I'm fortunate in that I live in the Bay Area, which is one of the much more liberal places in our country, and so when like, I have it in my account that I am non-binary and that my pronouns are they, them, and when I mention that I'm non-binary, like, people are unfazed by it, but also, I will say I'm really surprised that even though it's in all the systems and it's on all the places, I get misgendered all the time, and so I'm almost always referred to as a she, her, and it's very rare, but every once in a while, there are a few nurses who actually look at the system and then go, "Oh, I'm sorry, they," and so there are a few that will actually catch themselves and correct themselves, but I think a lot of them, in my experience, it's mostly, like, in the infusion centers, where I'm having the most interaction with the nurses. There's so many patients and just a shortage of oncology nurses. And I don't know if that's everywhere, but out here it seems to be a problem. They're overworked and there's just not enough people. And so I think they're just not, they're looking at what the priority is. What are the medications I need to get you and what time frame? And then I need to get you out of the chair because I need to get the next person in the chair because we don't have enough time to get everybody through. But yeah, I haven't had negative experiences other than just people misgendering me because they're not paying attention.
you've given so much advice. You've talked about your lessons, which I think our listeners are able to take away from. But just like a general message for anyone that is going through cancer that you would like to give. And it could be related to treatment, it could be just a general life lessons and any advice you would want our listeners to hear.
Particularly for anyone going through any major health thing, but especially for those of you diagnosed with cancer. And I share this in the cancer support groups that I'm in for the newcomers all the time, and that is, be your own best advocate. It feels scary, it feels overwhelming, and I know, especially for those of us assigned female at birth, Like, we have this tendency to, like, make ourselves small and to not make too much noise and to not ask for too much because we don't wanna be too pushy or too needy or too loud or too much of a bother. But you know what? Like, you have cancer, be a bother. Like, you deserve to have all the care that you need and all the support that you need, and you know exactly what you're going through, and you know what your struggles are, and you know what your side effects are, and you know how much pain you're in, and you know how uncomfortable you are. Tell your doctor. If your doctor's not listening, tell the nurse. If the nurse doesn't listen, tell a different nurse. If that nurse doesn't listen, call somebody else at the hospital. Like, just keep telling people that what you're experiencing is not working, and that you're too sick or you're too tired or you're too miserable, but don't, like, give up and just accept that you have to be that sick and that miserable. Keep asking for help because I thought at first that I just had to be miserable until it was over. And then I mentioned it to the right person, and everything has changed. Like the first few rounds of chemo, I was so sick. I really literally reached points where I was like, I think I'd rather just die than go through another round of chemo. Like, this is so horrible. And when I told the nurse navigator, like, I told my oncologist and my oncologist nurse, and they were like, "Yep, chemo sucks." Like, that was their response to me saying I'd rather die than do another round. And they were like, "That's just what you got to do to get through cancer." But I told the nurse navigator, she's like, "No, you shouldn't feel like you wanna die on a regular basis. That doesn't need to be part of your treatment. Like, that's not necessary." And she recommended me to a palliative care doctor back in the previous town I was living in, and they, like, connected me with a prescription for a particular drug that was just on the tiniest dose, completely shifted my experience and took away that horrible, I feel like I'm gonna die experience where, like I'd said originally, like that first round, I couldn't even speak. I couldn't even say I need water or I need food or I need to go to the bathroom. Like, I just laid there in misery. And then this particular medication shifted that. I could get up, I could make myself food. Like, I didn't have a lot of energy, but I could eat food. I could swallow water, like complete night and day difference. And so, yeah, just going back to just keep advocating for yourself. Keep asking for what you need. Keep saying what's not working because somebody somewhere will hear you and be able to help. Don't give up on yourself. And also, I think with every person that's been on this podcast, just know you're not alone. We're all in this, and find the support groups, find the networks. There's so many free support groups out there that you can call into and be a part of. Lots of people. We're all here and we all want to support each other.
Thank you so much, Lee. This was amazing. I am really happy that we got to record. I am very grateful for all the resources that you provided. And really, I like your last message, right? Just be your own advocate. You don't have to feel like it's so terrible. And hopefully find that person that's going to listen to you. And that person is going to make the difference. So thank you for sharing. I truly appreciate your time.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Although this visit has ended, I hope this story stays with you and you can share it with someone who might need it. Until next time, take care.